How to become a real estate investor with bad credit. You may not think it's possible. I know for a fact that it is. Because I've had great credit and I've had bad credit, and I've bought real estate with good credit, with bad credit. So your credit and your ability to buy may not be related. It doesn't prevent you from buying. So let me talk about that in this video with you right here, right now. Here we go. We're going to show you 3 strategies, 1, 2, 3, on how to invest in real estate with bad credit. We're going to show you also how to fix your credit so it's not bad, because remember, your credit is not granite, rock, okay? It's clay. It can be fixed. It can be repaired. It can be improved. My credit's been great. My credit's been bad. My credit's been great again. I invested the entire time. All right, so you can do the same. We'll show you how here, right here. And in the end, I'm going to give you some pointers that will absolutely help you repair your credit. So make sure you stay till the very end. Being a real estate investor with bad credit means that you're going to have some limits on people you can borrow money from, but it doesn't mean you can't invest in real estate. The first thing we're going to talk about is buying real estate and assigning the contract or bringing in a partner. Assigning the contract means you go out and you find a deal and you put it in contract, or you tie it up, is the way we term it in real estate. And then you bring in a partner with good credit or an investor, or you sell the deal to somebody else who closes it. You follow me? I just bought 2 properties this way in Sacramento, California, just last month. It was a couple of flippers who went around and they buy contracts and they wholesale the contracts. They don't flip the property, they flip the contract. Their credit could have been horrible. They could have had multiple bankruptcies. They could have credit people banging down their doors looking for them. But it didn't matter, because all they did was they went out and they found a deal and they sold it to me. They made about $25,000 to $30,000 on each of those deals, because I saw what they paid and I saw what they sold it to me for. I'll make money too. So there's the first example of investing with bad credit. Now, how do you put that in contract and what else? That's part of a real estate course. It's a bigger project. It's a bigger conversation. It's a longer conversation, okay? And at some point you could join me at one of my courses. But for now, know that you can buy property, you can put it in contract and not close it, but have somebody else close it, so your credit is irrelevant to that type of transaction. And as I just explained, they made money. Another way to become a real estate investor with bad credit is to use private money. Private money may or may not care about your credit. Sometimes people have medical bills or other things that happen. Life happens, okay? Good people have bad things happen to them, and good people can have bad things happen to their credit, all right? But obviously, you can't just go to your mind and say, I can't do it. I can't do it. This isn't a barrier of what's possible in the world. This is a barrier of what's being made to be impossible in your mind. So stop thinking like that. It's not accurate. It's inaccurate. You can buy property with bad credit. So the second way is to get a private money lender that looks at the property and the equity and the value, that isn't concerned about your credit. They're concerned about the property. They're lending on the property, much less than you as a borrower. If you go to one of the big banks, they're looking at you as a borrower. They're like all about credit score, cash flow, verified income, reserves. Private money deal, they're looking at what's the property, how much equity is there, how much money can we make, what loan to value, etc. In that case of scenario, even with bad credit, you can get lent money. I've been lent money with poor credit. I've been lent money with great credit. It's just a difference in how much I pay and how much money they lend. But I've never stopped doing real estate. After 2008, my credit was horrible. Okay, I got my butt kicked like a lot of us did. And I've since recovered. But the key is that I didn't stop investing. In 2012, with poor credit, I bought a property from a flipper. I closed it. The seller carried the financing, which is the third way. The seller owned the property free and clear. The seller sold me the house. Now, guess what? The house on Zillow and appraisal probably was in the high 200,000s, but it was 3,000 square feet. So if you watch my other videos where I talk about price per square foot and value, you couldn't build the house for 212,000. It's just the market was down at the time. So I bought the house in Las Vegas and I lived in it for many years and then eventually rented it and eventually sold it, sold that property, took my money, okay, and bought an apartment building that gave me cash flow, still pays me today. So even with bad credit, I'm not telling you anything that I haven't done, right? So you're thinking, well, I got bad credit, I can't buy it, I can't do it. No, you can. Stop thinking about my credit when you have the ability to do things in spite of your problems. You know, a person with one leg can still learn how to move around. They can still walk, right? They can get an artificial leg. They can get a wheelchair, okay? They can have somebody else drive them around. They can use Uber. It doesn't mean they can't go anywhere. It's the same with bad credit. Yeah, it may be a little bit of a disability financially for you, but it doesn't mean you can't do anything. It doesn't mean you can't buy any property. It doesn't mean you can't build wealth. You can. And in the meantime, you can work on building your credit, which is the last thing I'm going to talk about right after you subscribe. I'm going to talk about things that you could do to build your credit that most people don't even know about. One of my very good friends is a credit repair company. I've used him. I'm going to give you some of those secrets right here, right now. So like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in just a second on that. All right, so I'm going to give you a couple tips on fixing your credit, and then at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you one last way to buy property that you don't need credit, okay? So let's talk about credit repair. Credit, there's 3 different agencies that report credit, okay? Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. All these credit reporting companies are aggregators of information. In other words, they gather all this information and they report it. If the information is incorrect, they have to correct it. They have about 30 days to do it. The best way to challenge your credit is not online, it's to mail a letter. Because that means somebody's got to open the letter, they got to read the letter, and they got to deal with what's in the letter, right? That letter should include 3 things. Number 1, a copy of your driver's license, front and back, or your ID, government ID. 2, a copy of your utility bill from where you live. 3, what's your dispute? I don't recognize this account as my own. I don't think I owe this money. I believe this was paid, whatever. You can go online and see some of the different things that you could dispute depending on what the truth is. Like, is it mine or is it not? Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is inquiries. Some of these inquiries you may not be aware of. You could say, I never approved this inquiry, and some of those inquiries will come off. That can help raise your credit score and remove derogatory information. Number 3 is getting a loan that is a credit builder loan. So some banks will offer loans where you don't get the money up front, you get the money in the end, but they report to the credit agency. One Nevada in Las Vegas, for example, it's a credit union. They will offer what's called a credit rebuilder loan. So you would borrow $1,000, you would pay $89 a month out of your account. And at the end of a year, they would give you the $1,000 and they would report that you had a credit 12 months paid as agreed. That will raise potentially your credit score, okay? Another way to raise your credit score is get a prepaid card like First Premier Bank, all right? First Premier Bank will give you a prepaid card, or they may give you a small card, $200 or $300. Keep 20 to 30% of the balance, no more, usable. So if you have a $300 card, don't go over 90 bucks, okay? Pay it off timely every month. That will build your credit score. I've done this for people, all right? It's very, very simple stuff. So let's talk about the last way to buy real estate with bad credit, and that is options. What does that mean? I have an option to buy the property. So I write up an agreement that says I have an option to buy this property for this amount of money over this period of time. Most of you are familiar with what's called the lease option, which is where I rent a house and have an option to buy it over a couple of years at this price. Where I'm going to buy a property and I'm going to get an option to buy that property for a certain amount of money. Sometimes options can be long-term, like years. Sometimes they can be short-term, like months. But it gives me an opportunity to put a deal together to close the property, find an investor, find the money, whatever. But the property is available right now. And so I don't want somebody else to get it. So I will do an option to get it, to tie it up, to have control of the property, even though I don't own it. I could sell that option to somebody else and have them close it. Or I could use that option to give me time to put a deal together to close it myself. Where I talk about the ultimate wealth builder, how to find multifamily deals. These deals are all over the country and they are the foundation, the backbone to many families' wealth by having these ongoing rents being paid. All these tenants that go to work and come home and pay rent for the housing that you provide, okay? If you want to know how to build wealth, make sure you join me on some of these other videos where I talk about these multifamilies.